Hi, thought you were finished with me, eh? No such thing. We're going to talk today, or this evening, whenever you're watching this, about fragments. Ooh, fragments. Fragments are a big deal in marking English. Instructors can't help themselves. When they run across a fragment, they zero in on it. As a matter of fact, instructors often zero in and mark fragments when they're reading the newspaper, or reading a note from their spouses. They'll mark fragments on the thing written on the refrigerator. Now, it keeps them happy, not quite sane, but happy. Now, fragments mean word groups that don't quite make it as a sentence. And in formal English, not refrigerator notes, they should be corrected so that they are complete sentences. Most of our sentences are declarative. Declarative sentences require a subject, me, and a verb, something I'm doing. Now, you know that. You've known that since grade school, or since before you got up this morning, right? Now, how is it that, again, so many intelligent people, so many people who follow the news, who eat appropriate foods, so many people who have good relationships with their family and friends, and even with their workmates. How is it that so many of them write fragments? That's what English teachers want to know. If you're such good people, why are you writing fragments? Well, there are traps, is why. There are traps in English that will lead you to write a fragment and not even know you were doing it. Okay, it's sort of like the speedometer. You're just gradually lifting when you're out on the I-15 until you're going 110 miles an hour in a Prius. Al Gore's son did that recently. That's true, a Prius. Surprised everyone. It was good. It was actually good advertising for the Prius, as it turned out. Okay, now the fragment section of your text is of great help. And I'm going to use it, I'm going to go over just a few of these things, the ones that help us to avoid the traps of fragments. Okay, and these are the ones that you'll have a quiz on later. Now, the first kind of common fragment trap is the dependent word fragment. Fragments that start off, you've got a regular sentence, I was going to the store, subject, verb, no problem. Then you think of something else and you add it on until I remembered milk. Okay, so you make a new sentence out of that, and it's got a dependent word at the front, until. It makes it less than a sentence. It should have read, I was going to the store until I remembered milk. I saw that example up on the spot here. I thought it was pretty good. There's lots of dependent words that we kind of have to watch out for to make sure they don't lead us into writing fragments. There's a list of them in the text here on page 456 in my copy anyway. So if you've got a dependent word fragment, the way to fix it is to join it to the sentence that comes before it or the sentence that comes after it, whichever one is appropriate. That's what the exercises ask you to do. After I cash my paycheck is one of the exercises. After I cashed my paycheck, period, I treated myself to dinner. Well, we know, don't we? It should be after I cashed my paycheck, comma, I treated myself to dinner. Because that after is one of those dependent word fragments. What's another one here? The sample. I won't leave the house, period, until I hear from you. Well, duh. that's supposed to be part of the previous sentence. You can join the dependent word fragments to the sentence that comes before or the sentence that comes afterwards. Now, the ing, ing fragments, that sounds musical almost. Ing fragments and to fragments are also a common trap. Okay, the ing fragment. How to correct ing fragments. Well, an ing fragment means one of those words that ends in ing. It's usually called a present participle when you're an English teacher, but they're calling it an ing word here. Attach the fragment to the sentence that comes before it or the sentence that comes after it, whichever makes the most sense. It seems like that's going to be common advice here. Here's a sample. Ellen walked all over the neighborhood yesterday, period, trying to find her dog, Bo, period. Several people claimed they had seen him hours before. You've got this ing fragment out in the middle of these other two sentences, trying to find her dog, Bo. Try ing fragment. Well, I would put it after the first one. Ellen walked all over the neighborhood yesterday trying to find her dog, Bo. There's no reason that's supposed to be a separate sentence. Okay, these kinds of fragments are usually because we think of the first part of the sentence or the first sentence, and then the second part we think of as an afterthought, and we're already writing it as a new sentence. It shouldn't be. Okay, the same thing is true with to fragments. At the Chinese restaurant, Tim used chopsticks, period. To impress his date, period. He spent 1 hour eating a small bowl of rice. Well, he should have used his fingers, right? Okay, to impress his girlfriend. That's a to fragment. Let's stick that on one of the other sentences, would you? He spent 1 hour trying to impress his girlfriend. Tim spent 1 hour in front of the mirror, period. To look good, period. Tos are always, if they're the beginning of the sentence, you realize that they're a dependent word and need to be connected to the previous sentence. Okay? When to appears at or near the start of a word group, a fragment sometimes results. Well, good warning here. Okay. Added detail fragments. Love added detail fragments. They lack a subject and a verb. They often begin with one of the following words. Also, especially, except, for example, I would like to teach you a great many things, period. For example, about fragments, period. Well, that would be a fragment beginning with for example. It's not, or let's see, what's another good one? I like to go out to dinner, period. Well, look, it looks at especially Mexican food, period. Well, you can see it's an added detail fragment. Okay, how to correct added detail fragments. Let's guess what they're going to tell us, right? Attach the fragment to the complete thought that precedes it. Ha ha ha. Okay, well, we added a detail. Missing subject fragments. This sounds like a police show, like CSI or something. You spread the sentence out on this glass table, and then, okay, another little trap to avoid. A review. How to check for sentence fragments. Read your paper aloud from the last sentence to the first. That's always a good idea. Read your sentence aloud. It's surprising what you find in that. When I have students come up to the front of the class to read their papers, they're always reaching for a pencil to make a correction right in the middle of reading it, or they try to correct it in the middle of reading it. You only discover a lot of errors when you read them out loud, because your mind, if you've got a completed paper, your mind fills in, when you glance at it, all the correct things.